Right, instrumental in enacting the original foreign buyers ban, just going back to the earlier story that we were talking about there with Robbie Paul, was New Zealand First Leader and Foreign Minister Winston Peters. Does this latest change allowing wealthy investors to buy a house in New Zealand represent any kind of loosening of the policy? Winston Peters, Foreign Minister, joins me now on the line from Northland. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Look, I understand that you are very focused in your language here. You don't want us referring to this as a loosening of the foreign buyer ban. Can you explain why?
Well, because over 99% of the market is denied to them. They can't purchase it. They can't be involved in it. And over 99% of the market means that the foreign buyers ban remains. What we've changed is if someone's going to spend $5 million or more, and many are spending 20 or 30 million or more, then they will be able to buy a house, providing the house, whether it's an old one or a new one to be built, is $5 million or more. Now, that's a massive change in terms of the standards that the National Party was setting when they said you could buy one for $2 million, whether you're an investor or not.
So you feel like you've managed to bring some change here to this?
Well, the National Party's policy was $2 million, whether you're an investor or not, you can be a foreign buyer. And the no qualifications, and we came along and said, no, you can't do that. That'll be a competitive in the New Zealand market. It'll be up against Kiwi buyers. It's not fair. We want a policy that actually accesses the interests of the investor in the New Zealand market, accesses their funds, but also gives them a right to live here if they buy a house of a certain limit.
Wasn't that also
$5 million or more?
Wasn't that also possibly the sort of thing that you could have done back in 2018 when you instituted the ban in the first place, if, you know, getting a target on investment was part of this?
Of course, you're right. But no one thought of it at the time because people were so upset with the amount of foreign buying that was going on. So that's how the blanket reaction happened. You're quite right. We could have done that in 2018, and that would have been a sound policy way back then. But that's what happens when you have quite a violent electoral reaction to offshore buying, as happened also in the west coast of Canada and Vancouver in particular.
Yeah, explain that to me a little bit. I heard you referring to what happened to Canada there. Is this, you've got a concern that the money that comes in on the back of all of this investment is just going to sort of blow in and blow out again? What's the problem there?
No, what happened in Canada was it came in, all right, and it blew the market price through the roof. So instead of competing against Canadians, the Canadians were competing against the world. And that's what the National Party's prospect would have had for us as well if we'd have gone with a $2 million policy. And that's why we decided, no, you're not competing against the rest of the world. In fact, we're only going to be accessing that to investors putting in billions of dollars, which we desperately need.
All right, so your concern's only around the housing market. I mean, are you worried in any way that the system could be gamed, that people could find a way to, I don't know, offset the housing investment somehow against whatever funds they've put in there and get around it in that way?
Well, look, as a former lawyer, our job is to put provisions in there that make sure they can't game us. That happened also to New Zealand. Remember the investment policy they had, where people were allowed to come in on the basis of their investment? Well, they were recycling the same million over and over and over again. It hardly get an approval to come in when they moved the money to another bank account, another name, and away it went on and on and on. And people were too scared to sound racist to accuse countries of doing it. But that's exactly what happened, a bit like Canada.
Are you concerned that, or are you perhaps mindful that some may want to broaden this if this policy is a success? There might be people on permanent residency visas who've been prepared to put quite a bit of money into the country already, and they'd like a house too.
Well, with respect, if they want to buy, put $5 million in and become an international investor, because if they're just residents here, they're not in any way signed up to the country in the long term. If they want to put $5 million plus in, then they can buy a house for $5 million, yes.
So you'd be quite happy to sort of broaden it out a little bit beyond that AIP visa scheme?
But we're not broadening it. It's the same provision. You put in over $5 million, you'll be able to buy or build a new house for $5 million. But you won't be able to buy one for $1 million, $2 million or $3 million. We're going to keep this policy very, very strict. There'll be always those who want to broaden it. But our job is to make sure that we win and don't let it happen. Otherwise, the farce we had in former times will repeat itself.
Are you confident that your supporters particularly will be okay with this broadly?
Garth, I'm just so pleased that you're so concerned about the New Zealand First supporters. This comes as refreshing news to us. Let us handle our supporters. They know what we stand for. They know that they can access over 99% of the market against no foreign competition. That's less than 1% of the market. They're not fooled by some of the civilists of the Labour Party on this matter.